Ladies and gentlemen, it's like you just saw my face less than 2 minutes ago, but I am back to bring you another show on the Game Changer Sports Network. Whoa, whoa, whoa. My tech guy's kind of messing with me already. It's early in the day. Not really. It's really 9 o'clock at night Eastern time. But now we have basketball for you. We had hockey. We had baseball. We had football. We had wrestling. But now's the prime time sport, basketball. And here to talk about basketball, I guess I'll start with ladies first. We'll go with Elizabeth.
Hey,
Welcome to the show.
what's
What?
up?
What? Other way. Other way. You want to make me small. My tech guy's just making mistakes right now. And then to go and pair with Elizabeth, we have Hunter.
Hey, hey.
Hey,
All right. Thank you, Jake. Welcome to Behind the Basket, the first basketball show on the Game Changer Sports Network. We're really excited to premiere our very first episode. So the big thing now, March 11th was the day that Rudy Gobert, starting center of the Utah Jazz, was diagnosed with COVID-19, which led to the cancellation or suspension, I should say, of the NBA season. Now we're back. We've just completed one full week in the NBA bubble in Orlando. So, Elizabeth, how are you feeling about how the NBA has been handling this situation so far?
well, the way that Adam Silver handled it better than any other sport out there, in my opinion. They tested all of the players. I think this is the third time in a row now that they've had 0 players test positive. And I just think he did a great job handling that. And I think the teams are playing like they're already in playoffs. It's a crazy intensity with every game. I feel like my heart's going to go out just watching every game. But man, I'm just so excited to have basketball back.
It is so nice to have games going again. You got to think that the level of play is going to be a little higher because for those who aren't keeping up with the NBA, not all 30 teams in the league are in Orlando right now. They only took the teams that have a chance to make the playoffs. So every game, correct, 22 teams. Every game is going to have that playoff feel because everyone's jostling for position, and some of them are fighting for a chance to even make it into a playoff spot. And I've just been very impressed. You know, I don't go to many basketball games myself. There's not really a team in my area. But watching these games live, the entertainment value hasn't dipped at all. And I found that really impressive that the league has been able to put together such a great experience for the fans at home.
So just off the games that you've watched and everything, who do you think is doing the best in the bubble?
If you had asked me who the best teams in the league are before this bubble happened, you got Lakers, you got Clippers, you got Bucks, and then you got the rest. But all these teams are struggling to a degree. There are currently 2 teams that are undefeated in the bubble. And I'm looking at that little bubble amount right now because this is after, the months of waiting at home. We're seeing who put in the work during time off, and it's the Toronto Raptors and the Phoenix Suns. Now, I'm not going to say the Phoenix Suns are going to come out and take the West. They're still...
Get seed.
They could. Totally could. I wouldn't believe it, but wow.
It's such a stark difference between seeding too, because the Raptors are number 2, which is amazing that they've held that seeding after getting rid of Kawhi and everything. They're a great team. But then the Suns are number 10 right now. But they still have a chance to make it to the 8th seed. And if they get there, I mean, who's to say they won't beat the Lakers? The Lakers right now, statistically, have the worst offense out of everybody in the bubble, which is crazy because they're first seed. They just clinched first seed, and they have LeBron.
Crazy.
But statistically, the worst offense.
I think
86 points.
Yeah, that game. The Thunder were the first team all season to lead the Lakers the entire game. Lakers never had a lead that game. They've had a lead in every other game that they've played. I believe the Lakers haven't averaged over 100 points scored per game since entering the bubble, which is bad.
Yeah.
But you can't count them out. Whoever gets that 8th seed, they are still going to have a fight. Once LeBron's been struggling to find his shot, he's shooting very low 40% average. I'm remembering correctly, maybe even lower. But you just cannot count out playoff LeBron, especially with a teammate as good as Anthony Davis.
But, he had that groin injury that kept him out of, what was it, like 17 games last season?
Mhm.
And we'll get to the injury report in a little bit, but he's out again tonight with the same injury.
That's correct.
So, I don't know. I'm not the world's biggest LeBron fan. I know that there's a bunch of people out there who are. I'm not. But you can't deny the talent or anything. He's one of the greatest players there is. But I don't know that I can confidently say that the Lakers will take the West. I think there's just too much talent all over the place. There's so many good teams this year.
Yeah, I think the West is pretty wide open. We've got a question here from Martin. How far do you see Boston going in the playoffs? I think it depends on their first round matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, what is it?
Great team too. They've got some good players. Kemba Walker, I said his name wrong. They're a great team. I like watching them. I was really excited to see them play the Rockets during the scrimmages. But whenever we were playing, I was so excited. I was like, man, the Rockets are destroying them. And then I realized that all of the starters were out. So I was like,
that would help.
It's been long. I don't know who any of these people are.
Right.
But,
my
I think
view.
It'll depend on who they get matched with, if it's an uneven match or not,
100%. My view right now, I think Boston takes a first round series over any of the bottom seeds except for maybe Philly. And I'm hesitant on it for two reasons. I think that a full strength Philadelphia 76ers team can take Boston because I don't think they have anyone that can check Joel Embiid. Right now, he is one of the best centers in the league, right up there with Jokic. And the Celtics don't really have that true center. They're playing Daniel Tice a lot of minutes. Cantor isn't really known for being a defensive stopper by any means.
Right.
So if Embiid can run the Celtics down, they can. But Ben Simmons just got injured. Again, the injury report is extensive right now. If they don't have Ben Simmons, I don't think they can handle the balance that the Celtics have with you've got Brown, Tatum, Hayward, and Kemba Walker, Smart. All those guys can and will drop 20 points on you at will.
For sure. Well, the injury report, let's go ahead and get started on that because it is extensive. There's a lot of people out right now.
It is bad. It's looking pretty bad for some teams.
Yeah. So I think the first injury was Eric Gordon during the scrimmages. He sprained his ankle. I think the night that they were playing the Raptors, sprained his ankle, supposed to be out for 2 weeks. He's starting to shoot around with the team again. So hopefully the Rockets will get him back soon. He's one of their best shooters when he's on. I think he had a 50-point game this year.
He did against the Jazz.
The one night that Harden was out. And, so he's definitely good for the team. They need him. But the next one was Jonathan Isaac. Now, there was the whole thing about him standing during the Pledge of Allegiance. So everybody kind of heard his name right before he got hurt. People, had their opinions about it or whatever. But then I want to say the next day or maybe the day after was when he went down and he has he blew out his ACL.
Yep. Very bad injury. It's so horrible seeing a young player have an injury like that, especially because he had that same knee hurt and it had kept him out.
Earlier. He was supposed to be out for the whole season, I believe. And then because of this break, he got to come to the bubble.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
That sucks. That's horrible.
It is bad, and there's been some doctors looking at it, and they say that they don't really think that he rushed back into it because his recovery time was the original length. He just wasn't expecting to play basketball. But he seems in good spirits. He should be back soon. I think, in my opinion, in my mind, the worst injury that's happened so far is that to Jaren Jackson Jr. of the Memphis Grizzlies, because the Grizzlies have been holding on to that 8th seed. And without Jackson Jr. and John Morant has not been playing well at all. It's just really going to hurt their chances of keeping that 8th seed and making the playoffs.
especially because it's so competitive. They've got, let's see, five other teams that are all fighting within, a couple games to get that position. Yeah, that's tough for them. That was a big loss. And then Jamal Crawford, he'll be back after a couple games, but the Nets, they're already missing Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and someone else got hurt. I don't remember. Someone else. You got that list?
I've got the report here. If I could remember which way the alphabet goes, if I could find the Nets here. Oh, it's because it's listed under Brooklyn, not Nets. There we go. So Jamal Crawford is expected to be out until at least August 11th. And then today there were game time decisions for Joe Harris and Jarrett Allen, which are two of their current starters that are healthy. But even then, I don't have a lot of faith for the Brooklyn Nets or the Orlando Magic for that matter. The top of the East is just stupid good. The Bucks and the Raptors are just going to demolish whoever is in those 7th and 8th seeds.
Yep. Even the Heat, they're playing great too.
Oh, the Heat.
Wasn't Jimmy Butler out not this game that they played today, but the last game? I don't know if he played today.
He did not play today. I don't remember about the last game. Today, they actually had, without Butler, and I think without Goran Dragic off the bench, who is putting up 6th Man of the Year numbers, they had a double-digit lead on the Bucks until late in the second half. Giannis and Chris Middleton just went off and just blew that game wide open and won by like 15 points or something. Insane turnaround. But the fact that Miami team was able to put the Bucks on the ropes for as long as they did without their cornerstone player it just speaks volumes to what the Heat have built with their organization.
Okay. So what do you think about the Bucks? I was kind of expecting them to come out and like just demolish everybody else, but they're 2-2 right now, and since the bubble started.
And I mean, I think the bubble is very telling of how in shape, how in tune players are since the break.
Right.
And I do expect more from them. One thing I think is very important to note is the Bucks lost to the Nets, which a lot of people started pointing fingers. They started really talking down on the Bucks and what they're able to accomplish. But if you look at the box score, Giannis only played for 16 minutes, and he scored 16 points in those 16 minutes. I feel like if the Bucks had played him a full 30, they only lost by 3 to the Nets. They could have won that game. So in my mind, they easily could be 3-1. But them and the Lakers have definitely shown what their weaknesses are.
Right.
The Bucks are.
Now, when they lost to the Rockets, I wanted to go over the Rockets small ball in a little bit, but their rebounds were almost double what the Rockets had. They had 65 rebounds to 36 for the Rockets, but they had 22 turnovers. And the Rockets only had 9. And that's where they lost it. They kept turning over the ball over and over and over. And the Rockets also had 15 steals. So, to me, that was their weakness that game. And they could have easily won that game too. It was close. All these games are so close. So close.
It's so fun. And I think the Bucks and Houston is such an interesting matchup because you have two very different teams. You have the Bucks, who have, if I'm not mistaken, the best interior defense in the league right now. Giannis and the Lopez twins are doing a phenomenal job down there. They're crashing the boards.
60 points in the paint, where the Rockets small ball, they scored 20.
And that's
it's a weird matchup. You're right, because Rockets are all 3. If they can get a 3, they're gonna get a 3.
And it worked.
It does. It works as long as they get enough possessions. If they give up all possessions, and if they don't rebound enough, their rebounding is really rough for the Rockets. What was that message? Did you see that?
It said Portland Trailblazers going to take that 8th spot, and Austin, they are who I want to take the 8th spot, and this is why. I think that the Portland Trailblazers are the only team in that bottom bracket, not counting the Mavs and the Thunder and Houston that are around 6 and 7. I think that a full health Portland Trailblazers have the potential to upset the Lakers, which is a very wild statement. That would have been.
I don't think it's that wild, though.
It would have been a couple weeks ago, but now they've got Nurkic back.
Yes.
They've got Collins back. Damian Lillard is playing some of the best basketball of his life. CJ McCollum had a very rough start to the season, and you can definitely tell he's put in the work. And I think that this team, if they can get that 8th spot, Dame is such a killer. He can work that Lakers defense.
He gets those shots where, like, that one over Paul George, and that one, was that the one last year whenever they got that funny picture of him? And then there was
nice.
Russell.
And I mean, it's horrible for me. I don't like to bring that up, but you just.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay, because Damian Lillard, I'm such a fan of his game.
I love him. He's a great player.
He's amazing. And I believe that clutch factor, coupled with the fact that the Lakers just cannot buy a bucket right now, we could see another 8-1 upset, which does not happen very often.
Awesome to see.
That
would be exciting basketball for sure.
It would be. Let's see. Turnovers lost the game for the Bucks against your Rockets. LOL. Circus Monkey Sports putting in the Milwaukee plug. Hey, we'll see what kind of matchup. We'll talk in some later episodes once we got playoff position totally fixed. We'll talk who we think is going to win each matchup, finals predictions. We could see a Milwaukee-Houston finals. I wouldn't put that entirely out of the realm of possibility, because
we could see anything right now. It's anybody's game right now.
Honestly, I love it. Love it.
I do too. It's just so exciting. I never would have thought that the Thunder would keep the Lakers to under 90. Not even just under 100, under 90.
I'll preach about the Thunder all day. I'm sure there was a lot of factors that came into play, but that no one wants to face that Oklahoma City team in the first round.
That brings up a different point for me, though, and that's 2 players that come to mind that are a little bit older, and everybody was starting to say that they're kind of washed up and stuff, and that's CP3 and Will Anthony. They are proving everything right now. CP3,
it's amazing.
I mean, if y'all know me, y'all know I'm a Rockets fan. I'm a huge Rockets fan. So I was devastated when CP3 left. I'm, almost as devastated as when he got injured in the freaking playoffs that year.
They could have had a finals berth easy if he doesn't get hurt.
It's all heartbreaking moments. So I was really sad when he left, but I decided, you know what? I'm always going to cheer for Oklahoma as long as they're not playing the Rockets. That's my other team. And, I remember him having one interview after a game, and the reporter said something to the effect of him being too old to play. I don't know how she worded it or whatever, but I remember that was like what he took from it, and he just looked like heartbroken the way that she said it and everything. And I was just like, man, he's amazing at basketball. He's great. He's just kind of injury prone sometimes, but the way that he's led that Oklahoma team, I think they have a chance too. I think they all do, but
it's possible. They don't have that star power that puts them over the top like all these other Western teams do. But you got to remember, some of these coaches and media people are giving MVP votes to Chris Paul in their season predictions. They are very much valuing him. And I follow the team more than most people probably do. Oklahoma City is a very small market. But if you follow the behind the scenes of that team, CP3 has just taken on this mentor position of all these young players, especially Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Right. Like when they're off, at a timeout or whatever, he's sitting there coaching them. He's telling them, hey, do it this way, do it that way. I love to watch CP3 play.
I definitely think that coaching is what's putting them over the top. It's his leadership is just phenomenal.
Yeah. And then, but yeah, Melo. So, he wasn't getting drafted by anybody, came to the Rockets, and then that was just did not work. And it had nothing to do with his play or anything. It just he didn't fit with the Rockets system. But
Right.
there was definitely a media bias that he was, washed up or whatever. And then Portland gave him a chance, and I feel like he's just proven everybody wrong. Even when he beat the Rockets the other night, he got the important 3 of the night
Mm-hmm.
that sealed the game. And you can't got to be happy for him, I guess. If you're a Rockets
He's
fan.
worked as hard, if not harder, than anybody on any roster spot. He knows he's got something to prove. And it's unfortunate that it happened as late as it did, because he had made an instant impact on that Portland team that was decimated by injuries. They really needed that power forward spot filled when Nurkic and Collins were out. Now they're both back, and they still have Melo. You've probably seen the skinny Melo pictures when he showed up to the NBA campus. He has put in work, and he is making it count.
Is
Are you going to say Jokic?
How do you say it? Jokic?
I don't really. I think it's Jokic, but someone get him on the show and tell me how to actually pronounce it.
Tell us how to pronounce that, because I just say Jokic. I don't know. But
we'll call him the Joker from Denver.
Yes.
I don't think anybody backstage is any help.
It's fine. Thank you, Jake, for helping. No, he got fit. He's in shape.
Yeah.
There was kind of a toss-up. There's a lot of internet memes about how the Joker gets his strength from his figure. He's able to, there is a benefit to being the size that he was. He was able to really hold his position in the post. And then his IQ on the court is just off the charts. The way he's able to read the floor, make passes. He had a couple of game winners this season as well. And people were worried, now that he's so slim, that maybe he wouldn't be as tough down low in the post, because he is a center after all. But as far as I've seen, his play is just as phenomenal as ever.
You see, there was James Harden, I guess, did some sort of camp while we were all quarantined, and he dropped some weight. But
I saw that as well.
Size, but when those pictures emerged, he looked so skinny, and that was my worry too, because he's got power when he goes on those drives, and draws the fouls or whatever. He he does. It's because he can push through it, and just seeing him all skinny like that, I was concerned. I didn't know if he was going to be able to still do that, but I guess he didn't lose too much, because he looks about the same. But Joker,
no, he looks good.
Joker, I think that with him, it'll be able to make him move a little quicker. I think that that's going to be his advantage with losing that weight. I agree.
Which will be very important. That Denver team is in a high playoff spot, but if I remember the injury report correctly from before, let's look at it right here. Jamal Murray, the starting point guard for Denver, he's expected to be out until August 8th, which isn't a whole long time. But Jokic is pretty much their primary ball handler. He leads the team in assists. He's making those very smart plays. So if that makes them more mobile on the court, and if that also ups their transition game, Denver's going to be a scary matchup in the playoffs as well.
I think they're a sleeper team every year. They always have a high seed, and you don't hear anything about them. Nobody's ever saying, "Oh, Nuggets are going to win all this" or anything. But they're a tough team. I get nervous when the Rockets play them. Definitely,
they are. They're one of those teams where they rely more on their balance than they do. And I guess in the same breath, I feel like Nikola Jokic is very underrated as one of the top players in the league, because I'm sitting here saying, oh, Denver's such a balanced team. They're like the Thunder. They don't have that one player that stands out. They do. They have Jokic. He is possibly the best center in the league, depending on how you feel between him and Embiid. And what people may have forgotten already is so Portland Trailblazers went to the Western Conference Finals last season. It took them 7 games to beat Denver, including one game that went to like triple or quadruple overtime. Jokic played like 60 minutes or something. I remember watching that game and it just would not end. They were so scrappy. It was one of the best games I've ever watched. But they have the same team as that team that took the Western Conference Final Trailblazers to 7 games,
Right.
and they added, I don't think they had Jeremy Grant that year. I think he's a new addition.
And Michael
he's
Porter wasn't playing. He was injured, I believe. I think he had like a back injury or something. And
yes.
he's this is his first season actually playing, you know? I think he got drafted like the year before last maybe, and then got injured. And so he was out for a full season.
Yeah,
But,
so
yeah,
I think
balling.
we really need to talk about Michael Porter Jr. I want to see this if I can find it. So he was drafted with a back injury, didn't play a lot, got some limited minutes coming back. He comes to the NBA bubble, and I don't know if I can find the exact numbers, but he puts back-to-back games of 30 points and like 15 rebounds for the Nuggets. If he keeps up, I don't expect him to be scoring 30 and grabbing 15 rebounds a game for the rest of the season and through the playoffs. But if Denver now has another player like that to put alongside Jokic for the playoffs, that's another team that could surprise a lot of people.
Right, for sure. I definitely want to touch on the first 50 piece in the bubble. And that was DJ Warren with the Pacers. He is just balling. Like he had 53 on August 1st when they played the 76ers. And then the next game he had 34. And then the next game he had 32. I mean, for having such a slow start into the NBA, I mean, he's, I think I wrote down that his career high was 35. And he made that this year. Before that, it was 29. So, I mean, he got drafted in 2014, played with the Suns for up until this past season, and just left to the Pacers. And so, I mean, he hasn't really, it's been like 5 years and he's had a slow start. But to come into the bubble and just go off like that, I really hope he keeps it up.
I do too. He's really been the surprise of the bubble so far. Those first 3 games, he averaged 39.7 points a game, as well as 2 steals and 2 blocks. Pacers were undefeated in that 3-game stretch. The season numbers are solid. It's like 19 points a game. He's been a very good contributor for the Pacers, but I don't think anybody saw this coming. Yeah. Unfortunately, he was brought down to earth today in a loss to the Phoenix Suns. He only scored like 16 points, I think, not great shooting.
Really?
And, it seemed like it might be too good to be true, but I imagine that Warren knows what he's capable of. And after having those 3 games put together, I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps putting up some big numbers for the rest of this, especially as the Pacers are in a playoff position.
Right.
I wouldn't put my money on them going deep into the playoffs or even being a first-round upset, but they definitely have the capability of being a dark horse with Victor Oladipo still getting kind of back to form. And if Domantas Sabonis comes back from injury, that's a very scary team.
Well, so right now, if they went right now to playoffs, they'd be playing the Heat. And so, I mean, that'd be a tough matchup.
It would be a heater tough matchup for anybody.
Yeah.
That's a team that they have Eastern Conference Final potential. So it looks like we've got a really good question that how do you think no fans will affect the players, especially going into the playoffs? So I was thinking about this. You definitely have, so the top teams in each conference, they've got home court advantage. That's kind of their thing. They get to play in front of their fans. They go through their own routines. That's pretty much gone away with in the bubble. You just have people Skyping in on the digital wall, and maybe the announcer that's quarantined there with them gives them a little extra love. But I wonder how much that's going to impact players in a 7-game series if the home and away difference is going to make an impact at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly think that it will give them more like concentration, I guess, because it's just ball. That's all they're doing. There's no booze to distract them. There's no anything to distract them. It's just basketball. And I think that it's going to show, and I think it's already showing that, I don't know, it's who's the better team when you just take it down to just basketball, you know?
Right. And it could go both ways. For example, the Philadelphia 76ers, they were like 24, 26-2 at home. They're one of the best home records in the league. They go on the road, they're not winning any games. It's the polar opposite. I don't know how that's going to affect them, if these games are going to feel more like road games and home games, and if the Sixers are really going to suffer because of that. And then you have individual players. For example, Russell Westbrook, as you know very well this season, he really feeds off of crowd energy, especially on the road. He uses it as a fire to really just get mad and play really aggressively. I don't know how that's going to affect players like him, if that push isn't going to be there, if he's not going to be as aggressive, or maybe in his case, maybe he tones it down a little bit and makes some better basketball decisions. It's going to be.
So far, he's still his aggressive self. He had a good night the other night, but in general, I mean, you still see him just being Russell Westbrook. But, you know, speaking of the home court advantage and everything, Denver, you know, when teams go there, they have trouble because of the altitude. It's an adjustment, you know, and now the whole team has had to adjust to the Florida altitude.
That's right.
You know, so I mean, it could absolutely affect teams negatively, but I truly think that it's going to come down to just basketball. You know, I don't think that you know, they've got the fans on the screen, which I don't know how you sign up to do that, but I want to do that so bad. Be on that screen, but I think that they can hear them cheering and stuff.
I think so.
Yeah.
But it's not the same as having that full arena packed.
Shaking and everything.
Oh, yeah. Some of those teams just can get loud, and the players feed off that energy and they love it. But I love the point that you made, that it's really going to show us who the better basketball team is.
Yeah.
Just straight basketball, fundamentals, skills. And I have a question for you now. This is something I wrote an article on earlier, because this is something that people were throwing around in the same breath as, do we restart the season or do we just cancel it? And part of it was, if we restart the season, will there be an asterisk next to the name of the NBA champion? What do you think?
I don't think so. I think that everybody was given the same amount of time to take a break, to, you know, rebuild themselves and see where they had issues. Like, some teams worked on their team issues, you know, through Zoom and everything, but they figured out different plays. They worked out different everything. You know, I think it's still fair. You know, I mean, everybody's always going to remember 2020, you know, but I think that I don't think there's an asterisk. I know that a lot of people disagree with me on that. They don't think that this year counts because not all the teams were there, but I think the teams that had a chance of getting there are there, and I think it's fair. I think that nobody got an advantage over anybody else.
I 100% agree. A lot of naysayers, and there are some, you know, somewhat valid arguments. Take the home court example. Is it really fair if a team who's relied on their home court advantage, like Denver, doesn't have that? Is that working against them? Or the Portland Trailblazers now have players that were supposed to be out for the whole season. They're back. Is that unfair if Portland for some reason comes all the way?
Players opting out too, like Avery Bradley for the Lakers and Kyrie Irving. But that was their choice. I mean, I don't know. I think that it 100% counts, but that not an asterisk by it, but maybe just like a fun fact, you know?
Yeah.
Like I don't think it changes the championship title.
I agree. In my opinion, this is going to be the most hard-fought championship ever. Like, I think this is going to be the hardest title that anyone's had to win, because you have so much going on in the world around us, the social justice stuff that players are addressing, the COVID-19 and all the worries that are surrounding that, the whole season getting suspended and figuring out a way to stay in shape, keep playing basketball, and then get thrown into this bubble where they have to regain court chemistry, get back into game playing shape. Everyone had to do that. No one was exempt from it. And I think whoever wants the championship the most are the people who during that break worked the hardest to get it.
Absolutely. Okay, I have another question for you.
All right.
Rookie of the year. Who do you think should be Rookie of the Year?
This is going to be, I think it's going to be a repeat situation from last year. Last season, Luka Doncic, Luka from the Mavericks. These tough last names, Doncic, something like that.
Yeah.
He was the early leader for Rookie of the Year all season and continued great play until the end of the season. But then Trae Young had a phenomenal second half after the All-Star break.
After the All-Star break, he came back and he was just hitting like 30-point games one after another. But
he was on fire. And people were like, oh, well, maybe Trae Young should win the Rookie of the Year. But when you look at it from a wider lens, Luka had the best season, the longest season.
Rookie of the Year.
And that's where I get to my next point is it's got to be Ja Morant. He's really struggling in the bubble right now, which might, the recency bias is he's not doing well as he really Rookie of the Year. But he had a Memphis team that should have been totally written off in playoff contention in the loaded Western Conference all season. Phenomenal play. The thing that people will talk about is Zion Williamson coming in and playing amazing basketball. He's doing incredible. Limited minutes. He's scoring almost as many points as minutes played, I'm pretty sure. Instant impact on the Pelicans, winning a lot of games. But he didn't play enough games.
And you're pretty close. The first game, he played 14 minutes and he scored 7 points. So, 2 points a minute.
It's
the second game,
an incredible ball player.
Second game, 25 minutes, 23 points. Last game, 6 minutes, 6 points, which I don't oh no, wait, I had to cross that out because I started writing those stats while they were playing. So
at the time he went 6, but
so
still.
I don't know today's stat line yet. But I think Zion Williamson was so hyped before this season. Like everybody hyped him up. And I mean, still, what was he on the cover of?
NBA 2K, the video game.
Yeah. And I mean, he was number 1 draft pick. Everybody expected him to just start the season off and go off on everyone. But then he got injured. It wasn't really a bad injury, though. I don't think it was just like his calf muscle was bruised or something.
I don't remember the specifics of the injury, but
and then he didn't end up playing for most of the season, and then I think only played like 4 or 5 games before the NBA shut down. Maybe it might have been more than that. I'm actually not sure about that, but he didn't.
Might have been closer to a dozen, something around there.
Okay, and then so now he's coming back and he's like on somewhat of a minutes restriction. Or it seemed like he was when he first got back. He played the 25 minutes though, and that's pretty good.
Yep, a lot of people are upset with these minutes restrictions. He's had this entire break to recover. His injuries behind him, as far as we know, it's not bugging him too much. And if the Pelicans want to make that 8th seed, Portland and Phoenix are showing that they really want it. Pelicans are struggling pretty badly, but I don't think Zion's cracked 25 minutes a game.
They're in last place right now.
Are they really?
Game in the bubble. They've lost 3. And
oh wow, they are.
I don't know if they're going to be able to pull that one off. I don't know how far away they are from 8th seed.
So as the standings sit right now, Memphis has 32 wins, so they're still in the 8th seed, even with I don't think they've won a game in the bubble yet. I think they've lost 4 in a row. They still have the 8th seed.
Yeah.
Portland has 31 wins. Phoenix has 30. And then the Spurs, Kings, and Pelicans are all tied with 29 wins. So really, I think it's coming down to the Blazers and the Suns. They're the two teams that are winning games. They're the two teams that are really playing good basketball. And I just don't have faith that the other teams are going to be able to snag that 8th spot from Memphis like those two teams can.
So there's only eight games total before playoffs, right? So we're halfway through it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm
thinking
it'll come down to those play-in games. I'm still not 100% sure how they're going to do it. I don't know if it's just whoever's in the 8th and 9th seed at that point. So if Portland and the Suns both jump Memphis, I think Memphis is out. I don't think they're doing a tournament between all of the teams sitting outside of the Western bubble. I think it's just going to be a series between 8th and 9th. I could be wrong.
Well, they'd probably just take their their personal what's it called? Their tiebreaker. Like right now, Oklahoma and the Jazz and the Rockets, they're all within one game of each other, and they keep skipping. Like the Rockets jumped up to 4th seed the other day, now they're back down to 6th. They keep going back and forth. But Oklahoma gets placed above them because when they played each other, Oklahoma won.
Right.
So it might come down to that, like who holds the tiebreaker over those two.
The West is crazy. The one thing I do know is I believe that if the 9th seed is within 4 games of the 8th seed, they're doing a play-in series for it.
Yeah, I did not know that. That's awesome.
Because since they're only doing 8 games to finish the regular season and they're not doing the full 82 games, that's their way of kind of making it fair. So let's say Memphis is sitting there, they have 32 wins, Portland has 31, and we end the season at like 60, whatever, how many games we've played. Portland can be like, well, if we had played the last 10 games of the season, we could have made the playoffs. We believe that. So this is kind of the compromise, and I think that's going to be an amazing way to kick off the playoffs, is having this play-in series between the teams, deciding who's going to go at the Lakers. We're basically getting an extra playoff series.
The bubble has been so exciting. I haven't had one night where I'm like, I don't feel like watching basketball tonight. It's just every game I want to see what happens.
It's been awesome.
The exciting game for Devin Booker the other day. He had that.
Yes.
He beat the shot clock. Was it with a 2-pointer or a 3-point? I didn't get to watch that.
It was a 2-pointer. Suns, one of their wins. So you can look at the Suns 4-0, and you can think, well, maybe they're playing all the other bottom teams. But this was over the Los Angeles Clippers with Kawhi and Paul George both playing.
Oh, wow.
He had 35 points last.
Well, that's right, because it went over Paul George, too.
It went over both of them.
Oh,
he drove down the left side, stopped on a dime, did a couple shimmies, and had this fadeaway where he turned away from Kawhi and shot it over George and made it. Booker's having an incredible season. The Phoenix Suns have not been good since he's been drafted, pretty much. So I think people forget exactly how good of a player he is. But he's averaging 26 points and 6 assists on really great shooting.
And that's in the bubble? That's what he's averaging?
No, that's for the whole season.
The whole season, okay.
Whole season, 26 and 6. He was getting a lot of suggestions for the All-Star game, except, Phoenix just hasn't been super good. He's definitely an All-Star caliber player. He just needs to lift his team up. I don't know what else Phoenix needs to really challenge the West, but Booker's definitely doing all he can.
Yeah, I mean, if he can get him into the playoffs, like I said, there is a chance.
And I don't know, this could be the first time that Devin Booker's been in the playoffs. I'm pretty certain about that since he's been drafted, and I'll look him up right now. I don't think Devin Booker has been in the playoffs. We haven't really been able to see playoff Booker. You know,
Right.
we talk about some of these players and how they're able to elevate their games in the playoff. LeBron James, Damian Lillard, Kawhi Leonard, they're known for being even better in the playoffs than they are in the regular season. Devin Booker just might be one of those guys, but by the looks of it, he has not played in a single playoff game. So that would be really exciting to see. But I'm still going to go for Portland. I really want to see Dame play against the Lakers in a 7-game series.
You know what I read the other day was that I think it was JJ Redick. This is his first. No, it's not him. It was somebody. Somebody's first year not being in playoffs in like 21 years. If you include their.
It would be JJ Redick. It is JJ Redick.
High school, his college. He made it to play every single year.
There's a very, very funny clip of him getting interviewed when he joins the Pelicans as I think he was a free agent signing in New Orleans. And there's a very funny clip of him sitting next to Zion Williamson telling him, I haven't missed the playoffs once in my career. Don't screw this up for me. And it's kind of sad that, you know, that streak might end. I don't know where that streak compares to some of the other great players in the NBA. JJ Redick's not, you know, a star player by any means, but he is a very, very good player, starting caliber player who's played on some very good teams. So I don't think the Pelicans make it. So sorry, JJ. I think it's
going to be this year.
Retire before the season ends. Keep the record and come back next year. Unretire. Keep the streak alive.
The Clippers, they had to play, 2 games without Lou Williams? 2 games. He just came back this last game. And they don't have Montrezl Harrell. His grandmother died. And so he has been out of the bubble dealing with that, and they don't have a timetable for when he's going to come back. Doc Rivers just said when he's ready, and that's what they're leaving it at. So, you know, that it's obviously super sad for him, but also for the team too. Lou Williams and Harrell have this pick and roll that's like great, and I'm sure they're missing him because did they win or lose today? Do you know?
I don't know actually, and we can.
It was Indy Harding.
Let's see. They're playing right now. It looks like they're tied with the Mavericks, 34-34. So we'll have to see how that game goes. Lou Williams. I think so.
Further along.
Maybe
third quarter.
Maybe I need to refresh that page. But I don't think the game's over. But man, Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell have some of the best chemistry in the league that I've ever seen. Those two, they know their roles. They come off the bench and they just destroy opposing defenses. They just have this wink, wink, nod relationship where Lou Williams can throw up a lob and he'll get it, or Harrell will be able to set the perfect screen to get Lou Williams to his sweet spot for a jumper. They're both averaging like 18 points each off the bench. And having one of them out, having just one of them is, I don't know what that's going to do for bench chemistry. And it's going to hurt the Clippers either way. Our thoughts go out to Harrell. This is a hard time for him.
Yeah. I
can't force him back, but the Clippers are definitely going to miss him come playoff time.
They did win. They won 126-111.
All right, then my page definitely froze at some point.
And Jake is telling us that Tony Parker holds the record. He's got 17 years straight.
Making the playoffs?
That would have been JJ's number this year.
Wow. This is NBA only, so I don't have college in front of me.
Oh, okay. Well, then I don't know.
Okay, so the playoff NBA record JJ was about to tie with Tony Parker. You got to think, though, and something I don't think people always realize, there are not a whole lot of professional basketball players in the NBA. These are the 300 best players in the entire world. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these guys, I didn't really, follow them all in high school and college.
Right.
Some of them have had some incredibly dominant years. Like we've seen clips of Zion Williamson doing 360 windmills at age 16 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these guys were absolutely destroying their local sports teams at that age. But still, props to JJ. He's had an incredible career. It's not over, but I think his playoff streak is.
Yeah, I think so too. I haven't seen very many high school reels or anything from any of the players, but I have seen one, and that is Austin Rivers. Have you ever seen that?
I have not. Does he have a great reel?
It's funny. I mean, it's great. I mean, he's obviously an amazing player and everything, and I love him because he's on the Rockets and he's a great player. But it's just, I don't know. I watched it and I just thought it was super funny, just his whole attitude and everything. He just knew he had it.
Oh, that is so good. I'll have to look that up later.
Do we think that Kevin Garnett will buy the Timberwolves and turn them back into the Seattle Supersonics?
I see the Seattle Seahawks helmet there. I know I don't really know him, but the rumor mill says that he wants to buy them. That's where he spent a good portion of his career. And he's had some kind of bad blood with the Minnesota front office ever since he went from there to Boston. And it seems a little petty of him to buy the team just to move them to a different city. But I think he really wants to. And if they can make it happen, I would not be surprised if he at least purchases the team. Relocating it is a whole nother ballgame.
Well, I know our Nick Eubanks, he's our Seattle fan. I know he is hoping that they do it.
He says, bring back our Sonics.
And I actually have a friend from Texas that grew up in Seattle, and that he was telling me at work one day that was one of his best memories was watching the Seattle Supersonics. So, I mean, I'm sure there are people out there that want it to happen for sure.
Well, the story of how the Sonics, he's not buying the team. I don't know if that's a take or if that's been confirmed.
Yeah.
But fun story, not really fun if you're from Seattle, but the reason they lost the team wasn't because of anything wrong with the city or anything. And I might need a little bit of fact checking on this. This is part of Oklahoma history, so sorry, Seattle, is that the owner, the guy who purchased the Seahawks right toward the end, or not the Seahawks, excuse me, the Supersonics towards the end of their tenure, 2007, 2008, a lot of teams during that time were upgrading their stadiums. They were getting bigger stadiums, nicer stadiums. And I think that he was petitioning the city. He wanted to upgrade the Supersonic Stadium as well. And I think that they denied it. And he said, well, if you're not going to approve my plan to get a new stadium for this team, I'm going to move them. And he did. Another petty move in the upper ranks of the NBA, but I know Seattle's been wanting a team back ever since they moved to Oklahoma. Yeah. And those fans are ready for it. I know that there's support for it. Kevin Durant was drafted by the Supersonics. He played one season there. He's spoken to Seattle. I can't remember what the event, but he would love to see that team back there someday.
Okay.
And hey, so I wouldn't be surprised. People want that to happen, but there is a reason why they left. We'll just have to see. It's definitely out of our power unless someone here watching has $200 million that they can throw to us to do a buy-in for the Timberwolves. For now, though, we're going to just hold our breath and see if the Timberwolves stay in Minnesota or if the Supersonics are going to come back. And I do have, and this will be a behind-the-scenes question for Nick and for you guys. Do you think that they keep the throwback uniforms if the Supersonics ever come back, or are they going to go for a complete rebrand of the colors and the image?
Way to throw me on there. I would think that that they would bring back the old throwbacks, but the only issue I would see is I'm pretty sure that Clay Bennett owns the name Supersonics. So I don't see that there would be an issue of, because the whole franchise is owned by Oklahoma City Basketball Company or whatever they go by. So
Interesting.
Well, I did not know that.
Well, that'll be
So we're
fun.
down to like 4 minutes. Was there? Let's see. I had all these different things to talk about tonight, and I think we've covered just about all of them.
It's been a good first episode. We got a question here from Kyle.
Hey, Kyle.
Do you guys think Devin Booker will become an elite player in the NBA? Note he's only 23 right now. I see no reason why he's not an elite player already, depending on your definition of elite. He's definitely one of the best players. He's right on the edge of all-star, like we talked about before. Just his team's probably not good enough. I think that if
he keeps it up where he's at right now, he'll be all-star next year.
Absolutely. He could have been one this year if Phoenix were in a playoff position, and they might have bumped out someone like Trae Young, who is a controversial pick because the Hawks are horrible.
Yeah.
Right? He is putting up incredible numbers. And I think it's very easy to forget that he's only 23 because he plays like someone with a lot more experience, and he still has a lot of room to grow. And don't forget, he is one of very few players to have scored 70 points in a single game. That's phenomenal.
Well, and he's on one of those teams that doesn't have the star power too, just like you were saying earlier. And you put him with, the Clippers or anybody. You put him with the Lakers, he's gonna be up there with all the big names.
I don't know his free agency status, but there was something I was thinking about when we were talking about the Timberwolves, is that it's very known that Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, and Devin Booker are all really good friends.
Really?
Yes, they were like on a magazine cover together, and they hang out and stuff. Karl Anthony Towns is an all-star. I don't know. I think Russell was an all-star replacement, which means you're pretty much right on the brink of being that all-star level. And they're both in Minnesota right now together. Minnesota got Russell from the Golden State Warriors, and people keep wondering, are they going to try to get Booker? Because they're all friends. And there's a direct quote of, I think, Towns saying, we 100% want to play together at some point in our careers.
That's awesome.
They've got 2 out of 3. Thanks for the nice comments, guys. I wouldn't be surprised if Devin Booker, for some reason, is pulled to the Timberwolves, and we see that potential big 3 of all offense, no defense, but they could be a scary team.
One other note about Karl Anthony Towns, super sad. His mom passed away from COVID.
Yep.
It was very sad. It's just, you see it happen to people you can put faces with their names and everything, and it makes it hit a little harder.
Yeah, it's horrible to see, and that's part of why the NBA shutdown happened. But we're glad that we've got the bubble. We're glad that basketball's back. We've had no positive tests. It looks like everything's gonna be going, and we've got a special guest coming. What's going on, Jake?
Well, I gotta keep remembering which camera I'm using. We are at the very end. We have 2 minutes left on the very first episode of Behind the Basket. Elizabeth, Hunter, you guys did a great job tonight.
Thank you.
Now, as we all know, on Saturday, we continue our week. We do not have a show tomorrow night. Saturday, we will have Talk Interference Sports. Sunday, Gavin and the Circus Monkey himself on Circus Monkey Sports. And then we start the week over on Monday. Monday, Nick and Gavin talk baseball. Tuesday, myself and Nick talk about football. Wednesday, we still have a lot of comments coming in. Jason McMinn, if you are interested in joining the show for any amount of time, please message the page and I will get in contact with you. Wednesday, we have the wrestling show with myself and Nick. Thursday, we will have the doubleheader once again of hockey with basketball right behind it. We have, wow, I did this too early. I got 40 seconds to blow. I'm going to just go to comments. Hunter, you looking cute over there.
Yeah. Those are the
Kyle,
comments we got to put up
nicely
there.
done, guys. Pamela, they did do a great job. Jason probably will be messaging us. And this is my favorite comment of the night right here.
That's
Elizabeth
my
is just so cool.
It is so cool.
So cool. All right, so we are going to let you go. We got 10, 9. I'm not going to do the countdown. I don't care enough
I
that
gotta go
much.
get my jersey on for this game.
Yeah, she's got to go to the game. We'll see
Hey,
everybody
all right,
next
we got
week.
basketball to watch. We got to go. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you Saturday. And we're going to end